Steve Jobs. It is 1958. IBM passes up the chance to buy a young fledgling company that has invented a new technology called xerography. 2 years later, Xerox is born, and IBM has been kicking themselves ever since. It is 10 years later, the late 60s. Digital Equipment, DEC, and others invent the mini-computer. IBM dismisses the mini-computer as too small to do serious computing, and therefore unimportant to their business. DEC grows to become a multi-hundred-million-dollar corporation before IBM finally enters the mini-computer market. It is now 10 years later, the late 70s. In 1977, Apple, a young, fledgling company on the West Coast, invents the Apple II, the first personal computer as we know it today. IBM dismisses the personal computer as too small to do serious computing and unimportant to their business.
Who are you?
I'm Jeff Bezos.
And what is your claim to fame?
I'm the founder of Amazon.com.
Where did you get an idea for Amazon.com?
Well, 3 years ago, I was in New York City working for a quantitative hedge fund when I came across the startling statistic that web usage was growing at 2,300% a year. So I decided I would try and find a business plan that made sense in the context of that growth. And I picked books as the first best product to sell online, which making a list of like 20 different products that you might be able to sell. And books were great as the first best because books are incredibly unusual in one respect, and that is that there are more items in the book category than there are items in any other category by far. Music is number 2. There are about 200,000 active music CDs at any given time. But in the book space, there are more than 3 million different books worldwide active and in print at any given time across all languages. More than 1.5 million in English alone. So when you have that many items, you can literally build a store online that couldn't exist any other way. And that's important right now because the web is still an infant technology. Basically right now, if you can do things using a more traditional method, you probably should do them using the more traditional method.
What kind of inventory do you keep?
We inventory the best-selling books. At any given time, we're inventorying in our own warehouse only a couple of thousand titles. And then we do almost in-time inventory for another 400,000 titles or so. We get those from a network of we order electronically from a network of wholesalers and distributors. We order those today, they're on our loading dock the next morning. Then for another 1.1 million titles, we get those directly from 20,000 different publishers, and those can take a couple of weeks to get. And then there are 1 million out-of-print books in our catalog. We have a catalog of 2.5 million books altogether. Those 1 million out-of-print books, some of them we can get and some of them we can't, but we find them if we can, and then we ship them to our customers. We do kind of a search on those.
It's 7 o'clock in the morning, and Elon Musk anxiously waits for his golden payoff, his prize for paying his dues in the valley.
I expect to receive a car that I just bought, which is called the McLaren F1.
It's $1 million for a car. It's decadent.
There are 62 McLarens in the world, and I will own one.
Back in '95, there weren't very many people on the internet, and certainly nobody was making any money at all. Most people thought the internet was going to be a fad.
Not this South African entrepreneur. Musk sold his first computer program at the age of 12, and he hasn't stopped selling since.
Wow, I can't believe it's actually here. It's pretty wild, man. Just 3 years ago, I was showering at the Y and sleeping on the office floor. And now, obviously, I've got a $1 million car and quite a few creature comforts. It's just a moment in my life.
All clear.
My values may have changed,
but I'm not consciously aware of my values having changed.
My fear is that we become spoiled brats, that we lose a sense of appreciation and perspective.
A year ago, Musk sold his software company, Zip2, which enabled newspapers to publish online for $400 million cash.
Receiving cash is cash. I mean, those are just a large number of Ben Franklins.
It's a perfect car for Silicon Valley, it really is.
There it is, gentlemen, the fastest car in the world.
I could go and buy one of the islands in the Bahamas and turn it into my personal fiefdom. I'm much more interested in trying to build and create a new company.
So this is an ATM. What we're going to do is transform the traditional banking industry.
I do not fit the picture of a banker.
Forbes has officially decreed that Seattle's Bill Gates, with $4.2 billion, is the second richest person in the country. So of course we turned to him, hoping to learn some secrets of his meteoric success.
I used to stay at work until 11 or 12, and then go home and read for a while.
That's 11 or 12 p.m. As he showed me the main Microsoft campus, Bill confessed that he's a workaholic who puts in hours even on weekends.
I only let them schedule meetings on Saturday generally. Steve and I are totally hardcore that this is going into Windows as fast as possible.
Like most of us, Bill says that he escapes the office about once a year. But that's where the similarities end.
I spend at least a week a year where I go off and just read people's PhD theses and new things that are going on in the field.
Bill believes a prime ingredient of his success was his early fascination with computers.
You have to understand, when you spend your time thinking intensely about a field, from a very young age, which in my case is, I was 13 or 14 when I started to get involved. That's where you can do great things, is because your mind has really gotten into it. You understand it.
Another ingredient to his fairy tale success story is Gates' belief in himself. He admits to buying stocks other than Microsoft, mostly biotech issues, but that's a very small part of his portfolio.
As a percentage of my assets, 99% of my assets are the stock I own in Microsoft.
Now, Gates does allow himself some creature comforts. He's in the midst of constructing a $10 million home, and Gates also squeezes in other haunts as well.
I've got a house in the lake. I can go water skiing. I can swim. I play tennis. Got a beach place out at Hood Canal that I can take a seaplane out to from time to time.
As for someone to share his multi-million-dollar love nest, yes, the second wealthiest person in the country is looking at his schedule and planning to squeeze in a romantic partnership.
When you take a 10-year time frame, it's fair to say I think there's a good chance, very good chance I'd be married by then.
How about children?
By then I'd probably be having a kid or two, sure.